This is Rhea, and this is Just the Who of Us, where we talk about a range of topics including life events, current events, spirituality, entertainment, family relationships, as well as answering listener questions and more.
Oh, I like your books up there.
Thank you. I don't know why I haven't used Zoom in months.
Oh,
But
okay.
I don't know why it's still like it's kind of blurry, you know?
Right.
I don't know.
It's
But
all right. It looks good to me.
thank you. Um,
So
oh my,
what's going on?
oh man. It's been forever, I feel. Uh
It's been.
yeah. Well, a little bit of everything. Um,
Okay.
I mean, things have been up and down. I had my grandma passed away.
Oh,
Uh,
I think I saw that. I think I commented. I'm so sorry.
yeah, you did. Um, so we had her funeral a little about a week later,
Right.
8 days later, and at the funeral, something happened that was kind of like a whole nother death um, that ended a relationship with a family member, two family members. And, you know, I, honestly, I think that was kind of more traumatic than, the first loss because my grandma, she was 97,
Wow.
so
So okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, she fully lived out her life.
Right. Right. Right.
So, but, but in still, it's been a little difficult. I'm doing a little bit better now, but I was pretty depressed there for luckily only like a few days. It didn't last super long, but it was rough.
Mhm.
But I'm
Sure.
here. So
Okay, good, good, good. I'm glad to see you. I'm glad to be with you today.
yeah,
Uh,
same. Mhm.
yeah, and I was pleasantly surprised when you sent me a DM on this.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't recorded possibly since not long after. I mean, I recorded once. I spent a day recording a few episodes with somebody, but honestly, probably not since long after we last recorded. Uh, things got busy, work got
Right,
busy.
right. How's things
Um,
going on the work end of things?
they're okay. I mean they're good. I'm grateful. One of our clients downsized a lot.
Mm.
And so we lost about $2,000 a month.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, so and I haven't really recovered. So that's been a little difficult, but you know, it is what it is. I'm grateful to still have the business that I have because that's that's been kind of keeping us afloat.
Right, 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 right. Okay. Okay. So yeah, all right. I wish God willing, everything works out well for you, and you could move forward from there.
Yeah, yeah. My doctor, it always does. My doctor told me, she's maybe a few years older than me, not much. But she said, it's funny, my husband told me the other day because I had gone in and I was talking to her about depression and stuff. And she was like, my husband said to me the other day, you know what? Things are gonna keep happening. We just have to get through them.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
there's always gonna be things. We just have to learn how to
How to deal with them when they come up.
deal with them in a healthy manner and you know
Yeah,
more things are going to
absolutely.
happen just
Absolutely. I agree. I agree 100%. So yeah.
yeah, but so I wanted to kind of recap first because it has been a while.
I don't
And
even remember what we're up to.
I I think that I feel like either uncover or
I know we got to stop, think, and respond and that stuff. So the
yeah,
first books, those are definitely done.
so I think
Um,
it's uncover.
okay.
So let's just do a quick recap for, you know, those who maybe have been following along, or maybe those who haven't. It's just been a while. Um,
Okay.
so today we have with us again Martin from the Warriors, the Wisdom Warriors Life Code. I feel like I always like jumble that up.
Yeah, the Warriors life code. But I like the wisdom part. So yeah, absolutely.
The wisdom behind the Warriors Life Code.
Even better.
Um, as you all may know, Martin is also, he wrote this lovely, amazing book. This book, it means a lot to me. I read it before I went through some pretty difficult times, and there's just certain things that have stuck with me with this book that just have kind of helped me get through certain things. The book kind of guides you through the cards, if you will, kind of prefaces the cards a little bit. This is kind of the backstory where it came through, and even kind of a little bit of him using them in his own life. So, if you haven't picked this up,
Love
I
that.
will, of course, include the link for you to purchase that, and then you can follow along with the cards as you read the book.
Absolutely. It would be a good idea to have my microphone in front of me when we're speaking.
I always have mine kind of like off to the side here. Um, mm,
Yeah. No, you sound great.
thanks.
Excuse me.
So, so we initially, so there are, what would you say, four parts to the deck? One,
Hey, so there's three parts to the deck.
three. Okay.
And the first part, we kind of like went through the first part, which,
Mhm.
on one of the first cards, it talks about the different parts. So, which are the cards that have a blue and a gold on them. You see how the the border has both blue and gold on them.
Mhm.
So start with these cards. Use these. Excuse me. Use these concepts in your life to lay the foundation for the deeper work you'll be doing once you read the blue process cards. Return to the foundation cards anytime you're feeling overwhelmed or need a quick reminder for stressful situations. So we've gone through those cards, which starts with admission, cleansing, and celebration, which is basically, if you're here, if you're going to a therapist, if you're going to a coach, there's a reason you're going, right? So that's the first part is admission, admitting that whatever's going on in your life needs to change, whether it's internally, externally, whatever it is, something's got to change, right? So admitting that is the first step. Okay. Then the cleansing is the second part. The cleansing comes into by, okay, what am I going to do to change? It's that simple. What am I going to do now that I've admitted what's going wrong? Am I going to stay where I am, or am I going to change? That's the cleansing. And the celebration part is when you start to celebrate even the little victories that come along the way. Let's say you decide, oh, I'm 50 pounds overweight. I need to lose weight. That's your admission. Okay. Then comes the next part, which is, the cleansing. What are you going to do? You don't necessarily have to do a cleansing diet, whatever. But it's deciding what am I going to do to lose the 50 pounds and coming up with a plan for it and all that. And you got to be realistic. You're not going to lose 50 pounds in a week. So
Right.
what are your goals? Then as you're going along saying, okay, I'm going to set up a goal that I'm going to lose 3 pounds a week, whatever it is. And then as you lose a couple of pounds, celebrate. Recognize that the work you're putting in comes to happen, comes to work. So that's the first part. Okay. And then we get into what I consider probably close to one of my favorite things, which is the cycle of A's. Okay. The cycle of A's basically takes the law of attraction to a whole nother level. For anybody who doesn't know the term, the law of attraction, it's what you think about is attracting to you.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're thinking positive, positive. If you're thinking negative, negative. And so many people go, yeah, but it doesn't work for me. I'm like, well, yeah, it doesn't work because it's not just about thinking about what you got going on. So
Yeah.
that's the first part. Ask. Ask. The cycle of A's is three A's. A, first ask is ask the universe for what you want. And it could be as simple way as saying, I came up with an idea in my head. How many times do you see a product on TV? You go, oh, I thought of that. I should,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Well, did you
Yep.
do anything about it? Okay. So that's the second A. Act, ask, act. Do the work, do the action, whatever it is to make it happen. Right. And then the third A is where things get a little sticky. It's because it's for attitude, which means don't be emotionally attached to the outcome. And don't worry if things aren't going exactly as you think they're supposed to be going, because it may be the universe, or in my case, I like to say God, telling you this isn't the direction you're supposed to be taking. Make a course
Yeah.
correction and don't get married to the outcome.
Right.
So that's what the second set of the cards are. And then we get into what I like to talk about, which is another thing that I come up with is when we were kids and we went to school, or our kids went to school and the fireman was in school teaching them fire safety. Excuse me. There were 3 words they taught them to remember in case of a fire. Do you remember what they were, Rhea?
Stop, drop, and roll.
Stop, drop, and roll. In case of a fire, stop what you're doing, drop to the floor under the smoke, and roll away. Okay. So I took that, and I was somebody who reacted to everything. I was just everything that happened. I freaked out. Every conversation was really more of a confrontation,
Yeah.
confrontation. So I was like, okay, I got to figure out how to fix this. So I took stop, drop, and roll. And after I figure out how to fix it, I said, okay, I got to come up with a catchy way of putting it so that my clients will understand it easier. So I came up with stop, think, and respond. Stop before you freak out. Think about, why are you going to freak out? What's making you freak out? or what's made you freak out in the past? Is it you? Is it the other person? Is it the situation? Is it personally taking it personally? Whatever it is, think about it. And you can even tell the person, you know, when you stop and you're ready to react, say, that's interesting. I need to think about it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Right
Yeah.
now, you're diffusing the situation pretty quickly, because you're
Mm-hmm.
saying, oh, wait a minute, and you're not reacting, which is what I did all my life. I just quickly went into reactor mode.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is respond. Just come up with a way of saying whatever you're saying, even in a different way. So those are cards we've gone over before.
And it's funny because responding instead of reacting is kind of like a thing that I've used in my house. So one of the cool things about the card deck is there's little cards like this that you
Oh, look, they're
can,
pretty.
write things, you can practice these. I have used it, with my own little one. Uh, and it's something that I've found myself over time saying to my husband, or even to myself or to my kids about myself. I'm trying to work on responding instead of reacting. Anybody that knows me knows I have been a reactor for a long time. Whether it be, a lot of times it's a trauma response, as you know. Uh, we get caught up in the wrong emotions, and those are the emotions that we attach to, and those are the emotions that we react with, and or not wrong per se, but the unhealthy emotions, the
Yeah,
anger, the frustration, the impatience,
right.
those are the things that we react with. And so it's been a thing in my house for a while that, personally I've been, okay, I need to react. I mean, I need to respond and not react, or work on how I respond, or, stuff like that. So,
Right, right,
um,
right. So the idea of the scorecard that you brought up is
yeah,
because we all know you're not going to be able to master this the first time you do it.
right.
Right. So
Yeah.
the scorecard brings some awareness into what's going on, so that every time that you are in a reactionary situation, how are you reacting or responding? So the scorecard works in a way to say, okay, let's figure out how to make it happen. And you get points for it if you do it right. And you
Mhm.
even could go back later. And this is great because if you go back afterwards, like a day after you did blow up, to that person and say, you know what? And you come back and you think about what happened. You stop in the moment, think about it, write down what your emotions were, work through it, and then call up that person just out of the blue, or if you were living with them, whatever, and
Mhm.
say, you know what happened yesterday? I thought about it. This is what I was feeling. And I'm sorry for the way I reacted. And without looking for anything back from them. It's
Yes.
not, I'm sorry, but you did this to me, so I did that to you. That's not what this is about.
Right.
This is
Yeah.
about you having true contrition, true meaningful apologies that you can build your relationship on and just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that's what the scorecards do. It gives you a way of being that much more aware of when you do that and how to get better at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Precisely.
now we go into the 7 steps of the word uncover. So the first steps in uncover are 2-letter use. Okay. And I'm a big proponent, as you can tell, of wordplay and of acronyms and stuff like that. Like life coach stands for live incredibly full every day, life and all that. So unlock what's keeping you stuck. Look closely at what secrets are keeping you stuck. Stuck means you can't move forward because you have emotions that are holding you back from the happiness you deserve. Think about where you are in your life right now. Are you happy in your current place in life? What does this happiness look like? Does it come at a price? Maybe that price is feeling discontent, uncertainty, or disillusionment. The journey begins by understanding what's keeping you stuck where you are. You don't know you don't know what you don't know. Sometimes you're emotionally tied to certain feelings that you don't understand. It's those very feelings that are keeping you stuck. So,
Mhm.
in the first set of cards in that foundation, we talked about admission. This is taking the admission step to another level, right? It's
Yeah.
saying, let's dig deep in there and figure out what exactly is going on. Why are you feeling this? Are you happy? Why aren't you happy? And everything that goes with that.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because, excuse me, every time we talk on this topic, it's kind of like a mini therapy session for me. I'm always like, oh, yeah, he's on to something here. Uh, relating it to me currently. Um, I've have experienced a lot of death, a lot of loss, whether it be murder,
Mm.
overdose, accidental suicide, intentional suicide, or even old age sometimes. And even the ones that's kind of like, okay, well, they were pretty old. So, I'm, it's still difficult. And I think it's
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
just
It's still
been,
an emotional toll.
it is, and it's just a lot. And it's like, it's hard to grieve when certain things just keep happening and you get to a point sometimes where it's like I got to a point anyway where I just didn't I said that I didn't have any emotions just because emotions were painful because all my emotions were so negative around loss and traumatic events and things that I'm like I don't have emotions, which obviously was not true. We all have emotions, but it became this like, well, all my emotions are negative. I'm just gonna try not to feel emotions,
Right. But you're going
which
to bury them. You're
right,
going to
which
bury
is
them. And there's so many health depths as to what
yeah,
happens
yeah,
when you bury them,
yeah,
on a cellular level.
yeah,
Doing that will come up and you'll have ulcers, you'll have other illnesses that come along that are really basically emotion stress related.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
by burying them, you're just, you're avoiding the problem today, but you're going to have many more problems tomorrow. It's like the old commercial, pay me now or pay me later.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. 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 Well, and when I finally did quote unquote allow myself to be emotional again, well, now if I see somebody else crying, my eyes tear up. My kids are like, why are you crying? I don't know. Mom, are you crying? No. It's just
it's
like
okay to
there's,
say, yes, I'm crying. There's a lot of shit going on in my life. Excuse my language. Sorry,
oh,
sorry.
you're absolutely fine. Absolutely fine.
But the
There's a lot.
idea is by releasing those emotions in a positive, even if they're negative emotions, crying, anger, by
Yeah,
releasing them, it ends up with a positive thing. It's how you release them, right? If you're angry at somebody, it's how you release that anger. If you're sad and you cry, it's how you cry and what you do, and not allowing yourself to wallow in self-pity. It's
right,
about
right.
having that moment and moving on from it. And when
Yeah,
somebody says, are you crying? Yes, I am crying. I lost my grandmother. This
yeah,
happened, that happened. I'm allowed to feel those things.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I so I recently talked to my doctor about options for depression. Um,
Okay.
my 17-year-old daughter was in the room with me, and so I asked her ahead of time, "Do you want to stay in here for this? It's up to you." And even the doctor asked, and I said, I talked to her ahead of time because two things. I wanted to give her the option to be in the room. It's going to be heavy. Um, but I also want you to see the proper way to handle this.
Right.
I want you to see this is when you feel like you are experiencing this is the healthy way to go about it. This is the conversation you should have with this person. I just it was important for me for her to see
Yeah.
that the healthy
And
way to
when
handle.
and did she stay in the conversation in the
She
room?
did. Yeah,
Okay.
she did.
All right.
She did. My doctor, she said, okay, well, I'm gonna have to ask your mom some hard questions. And I said, I'm not suicidal. That's because that was her concern, obviously.
Right, right,
are
right.
you
Of
a danger
course.
to yourself?
No, of course, of
Um,
course. Right.
no, I said, no, I'm not suicidal. My initial response was I have too much to live for.
Yeah,
Um,
but
and
you know what
mm,
comes to mind? By having your daughter in there, you
yeah,
have a partner now in what you're going through, right? Someone who understands, who's strong enough to
yeah,
say, I have an issue and I
yeah,
have you in the room with me for two reasons. One for myself, but one for you too.
yeah, yeah,
Especially at 17, they're very impressionable. They're still learning, they're still watching, and they're going, you know, lots of kids back in my day, we always thought our parents were perfect.
yeah,
That was the way we were brought up. If they yelled at us, we deserved it. If this happened, this is because that was the way it was. These days, it's okay, and it's even better for the kids to see the vulnerability of their parents.
yeah, yes, yes. There's certain things that my mom went through when I was a kid and even as a teenager that I didn't really know about and I didn't really understand. And I was a complete jerk to her because I was going through my own traumas and grief and things like that. And I handled it in a very unhealthy way at the time. And I wish that I would have known more and that I would have been more understanding and like, I don't know, like able to supportive. That's the word I'm looking for. More understanding and supportive of the things that she was going through.
Right.
I saw this thing actually. I think my daughter tagged me in it, but it was like, oh yeah, yeah. She sent it to me, and it was like I something about like I I wish I would have realized sooner that my mom is also a person going through life learning things too. Like, we as parents, this is our
Yeah.
first time in every day of our life, as
Yeah.
it is theirs. And we we not only go through things while we're parenting that they don't see, but we also go through things while we're parenting that we sometimes take out on them.
Yep.
And, unintentionally, there's been times where I've expressed my emotions negatively, frustration and impatience around my children when not intentionally. I'm not like, I'm upset, so I'm gonna yell at you because of but I'm frustrated, I'm upset, and those negative emotions are they're just being sent out,
Yep.
and
Yep.
but yeah, so I it was kind of important for me that she was in there because I do need her to understand that. I need her to understand, she's been through some things too, and she really is a very strong person. She's very healthy now because we have worked through certain things in certain ways,
Hmm.
that when I was her age, I didn't work through them that way. And
Right.
so
Right.
I'm super, super proud of her for that. But yeah,
Yeah.
just understanding
Beautiful.
like, but we have to understand too that we are adults going through things. We a lot of times are working through stuff that was unresolved from childhood,
Oh yeah.
teenage, and sometimes we do, but it's
And some of it may stay unresolved because the other person may no
Mhm.
longer be in our lives.
Yes. Oh,
And
I
accepting that.
literally, yeah. I thought about this, was it yesterday? I said, I think that part of the anger I hold inside of me is because this person will never pay for what they did. There's a few people that they will never pay for the sexual assault. They're never going to pay for it. And
Right.
it,
Yeah. So
but I,
what you need to do there, we may jump ahead. I don't even know if it's in the cards. I know it's in the book. Is you need to forgive them, not for them, but for you.
I
It's
know
very difficult when it
it
comes to the
is.
stuff you're talking about. But I'm not saying, oh, I forgive you for sexually assaulting me. No, I forgive them for doing something that is unfathomable. But what
Yeah,
I'm doing by forgiving them is saying that they're no longer part of my life
yeah,
and they can't hurt me. Because every day that I say what you just said, they're still hurting you. You're still victimized because of it. And there's
yeah.
a wonderful book by a woman named Edith Egger, who's 94 or 95 years old. It's up here somewhere. It's called The Choice. Okay. And she was a woman who went through the Holocaust. Okay. And she was presented in front of the worst person you could ever be, which was Mengele, the doctor of death, who was the one decided who went left, who went right, who lived,
Oh,
who died. And as she got up there, she was a dancer as a teenager. She started to do high kicks. She didn't know why. She didn't even know what was going to happen. And he was impressed and he sent her to the correct way. Years later, in the 60s, she had an opportunity to go speak to the armed forces in Germany and stay at the hotel where Himmler or one of these guys, one of the main guys, used to stay. And
hmm,
she almost didn't go. And then she said, wait a minute, if I don't go, he's winning.
yeah,
My going is saying, you're gone, I'm still here. Right. So that's where the forgiveness is. She's never going to forgive Mengele or Himmler or Hitler or any of those others. It's
yeah,
not about forgiving them. It's about forgiving yourself by forgiving them.
yeah.
So I know it's people are probably listening to this and saying, is this guy on drugs or something? Did he just tell this woman who's been sexually abused to forgive the guy? No, no, I'm not saying it in that way. No,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
rotten hell.
right.
Right? But the
Yeah.
forgiveness is so that you can move on and not be stuck in the victim mode.
Yeah, but that's you're right. I mean, and I've heard that. You know, it's definitely something that people and other people who also know what they're talking about. I've definitely heard it. I've heard it too.
Yeah.
It sounds crazy because when we think of the word forgive, we're like, okay, well, you're forgiven. I'm gonna move. It's okay. I think that's what we think when we think of forgive the person that wronged us. Oh, it's okay.
No,
But
that's not what
that's
we're
not,
saying.
you're
That's not what we're saying.
releasing yourself from that hold on it. I'm still
Exactly.
upset about it. I'm still mad. I'm still frustrated. I still can't believe it happened. It's unfair.
Right.
It's
Right. And you're right about all those things, except that by holding on to that anger, you're depriving yourself of a happier life.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
There's nothing you can do about that person, whether they're gone or out of your life or dead or whatever.
yeah,
If there's nothing you can do about that person,
yeah,
then you are just beating yourself up and allowing your anger to feed that person is going to still be doing crap to you that they shouldn't have done in the first place.
right, right. It's almost just kind of like re-traumatizing yourself all over again.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
PTSD, no
yeah,
question.
yeah,
Listen, and that's a huge thing. And just the just the acknowledgement that you have that PTSD
yeah,
is a big thing. Any of
yeah,
us, anybody that's gone through trauma, right?
yeah,
Okay. And the point of that is that look, if it's that deep, go therapy, go do what you need to do because there's a
right,
lot of work that needs to be done. But if you're able to say in that moment, okay, I don't know what got me here at this moment that I'm feeling it and it's coming back, it's rushing back, but let me get out of it as quickly as I can and get back.
right. Right. I think for a lot of us, it's that lack of control. I
Yeah, yeah,
hate
yeah,
not being able to control things, and it
yeah,
goes back to this situation that happened very early on in life that I couldn't control. And but we can. Once we take back that power, we can control. We learn better. We learn how to protect ourselves. We learn how to be aware in situations,
yeah,
and it
yeah.
doesn't mean that like, well, why do we have to do all the work? The other people are bad, but it's just life. And
Exactly.
unfortunately, but when we learn how to protect ourselves, we can prevent certain things from happening. We
Right.
can we can prevent putting ourselves in certain, I don't want to, I don't, you know what I'm trying to say? Not
I
like
do.
I can
Yeah, yeah,
prevent
yeah.
putting myself around a rapist, but I can prevent putting myself in certain situations that are obvious to me, not good situations.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like, okay, I'm going to go for a walk now at 3 o'clock in the morning. No, you just know you don't do that.
Right, right,
I'm
right.
going to go to the worst part of the town and walk at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh,
It's
and we should be able to, but logically, we got to be
common
logical
sense.
about things.
Common
That's
sense. It's
not,
it's about bringing in the common sense. Now, of
yeah,
course, I'm using an extreme example there.
right, right,
Okay,
right.
but
Yeah,
it's just to get the point across that we all have these things. They become, flags in our head that we have to recognize and say, okay, if I do this, this may or may not happen. I got to be careful. So
right.
that's the beginning of the unlocking, and then we
Yep.
move on to unleash. All right. So why don't you read the unleash card?
So unleash the frustration you're holding on to so you can start your journey. Very often, what's keeping you stuck are those things in your past that bother or upset you. Oh man.
Yeah.
You might even resent or regret those past experiences. The more you hold on to them, the more you won't be able to move forward and create that new life you want. Often, there's nothing you can do about the past outcome. Okay. By living in the past, you're not allowing the future you deserve to happen. By unleashing or letting go of the past, you are giving yourself permission to be happy and live life. And then there's a quote on the bottom. It's not the same thing to know your past as it is to carry your past or carry the past.
Carry the past. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, we were going over this the last few minutes anyway. Okay.
Yeah.
But that one line there, it's not the same thing to know your past as it is to carry your past. Carrying your past means that it's that boulder on your shoulder
Yeah.
that is bringing you down and everybody around you. Knowing your past is okay. That's happened. It's and I'll never forget it. And maybe I should never forget it,
Yeah.
but it's part of my life. And let me compartmentalize it. Let me understand it. Let me even have in my head, there are times where I'm going to feel it a little deeper, get through it. That's PTSD and all that stuff. And then just go back. And when you cry, cry,
Yeah.
cry the crap out of it.
Like you said, that's pretty much what we dove into a second ago, but it's so this portion is so profound because it's just kind of like a hey, you know, uh in your face kind of, yeah, like, oh shit. You
Oh, they're
might
coming
even
to you.
resent or regret. Yeah, and relating this to parenting also, there's been times where I have said to my kids, I am sorry. I apologize for the person that I was at this time in my life. There was a time where I was working all the time and I hold responsibility for something that happened to my girls because I was at work. I wasn't home. I wasn't there to protect them. And, they are the ones who reminded me, like, well, you were raising four children on your own. You kind of had to work. You can't control this person being untrustworthy. You can't control this person's actions, especially when you're not there. And
Right,
as a parent, we feel responsible for pretty much everything that happens to our kids that's not
right, right,
wonderful and happy. Sometimes even when it's us, there was also a time where I yelled and cursed a lot. I was just in my own emotions and every little thing just yelled and cursed. Everything was just this
right.
big, big thing. And it wasn't super long ago, you know. Um, and I apologize for that. I apologize to that, you know, well, one thing that makes you a good mom is because you're apologizing. You're
Right,
acknowledging the fact that your behavior was hurtful and that it sets a bad example and whatever else.
right.
And that makes you a good parent because you
Yeah.
are teaching your children to own up
And
to
then
their
the next
mistakes.
step is okay, so you have apologized for it.
Yeah,
But the difference is if you do it again, the apology is hollow and has
right.
no meaning.
And
But
I
if you
did that
then
a few
change
times
from
too.
there, they're like, oh, that was sincere. That was
Yeah,
her showing us her vulnerability and that she's willing to change and that she's doing the work to change.
right. And it doesn't have to apply just for parenting.
No,
It
no,
could
no, of course
be with
not.
your coworkers, with your spouse, with your boyfriend, with whatever. It doesn't have to apply just for parenting, but for me, that's me
Yes.
being a
Yeah.
parent.
That's your there's a great book out there written by the late Randy Posh called The Last Lecture. And
Hmm.
it's called The Last Lecture because he knew he was dying.
Mm.
Okay. And that's why I said the late Randy Posh. He was a professor. And in it, he talks about his life lessons that he learned and the life lessons he wanted to pass on to his children, to his students, and to the world. And one of them was about apologizing. And it was about taking responsibility for the apology. It's not, I'm sorry, but
Yeah,
you set me off and you did this. That's not an apology. I'm
yeah,
sorry. This is what I did, and I'm going to try to do better the next time.
yeah, yeah. And it takes time because, like I said, I did it a few times. I apologized and still did the bad thing a few times
Right.
before, my personal growth kicked in, and I was like,
Right.
okay, this is the last because I'm
I
teaching
remember us,
a
we
lie.
talked about a couple of episodes ago about your son,
Hmm.
him calling you out,
Hmm.
and you're like, yeah,
Yeah.
good. Thank you for calling me out.
Yeah.
You said you weren't going to do this again, and here you are. And what he was like 9, 10 years old. I don't remember.
Probably about like 8 at the time. Yeah.
Right. And so and you said, call me out.
Yeah.
And we talked about it. Tell him to call me out because this
Yeah.
way, if he sees it and you don't, then you'll keep doing it. But if he sees it and
Right.
points it out to you, then you're again, it's a partnership and you're saying, thank you for pointing it out. I'm going to try to do better. And
Yeah.
today it might have been a 10, tomorrow it'll be an 8, the next time it'll be a 7, where it gets to be a 1 or a 2 on a scale
Yep.
of explosion, you know,
Right. Right.
whatever the situation is.
You know, I I've been like this for a while with my kids. Not always, because in my early parenting as a teenager, I was like, no, just do what I say and don't question me. Which I still, with certain things, I'm like, no, just do what you're told.
Especially
Um,
since you were a teenager.
right, right. But I do allow my kids to ask me questions. I do allow them to call me out. I allow them to ask for explanations as long as they're doing it in a respectful way. Don't ever come at me, why? Because I'm a teenager and I'm emotional. Why? You know what I mean?
Right,
You can
right,
ask me why. Ask
right,
me why respectfully. I don't understand this. Why?
right.
Well,
Yeah,
can you
100%.
explain that to me? Like, you
I,
know,
I, I have a daughter, my youngest, who's on the spectrum. She's
yes,
very high functioning on the spectrum. And after our divorce, it really is, that's what it manifested. We never knew it before. And she was acting out and doing things and eventually it got to the point where we sent her to a residential therapeutic home in Utah, which was fantastic for her, it helped us, and all that. And one of the things they taught her there was to learn how to advocate for yourself instead of justifying and rationalizing what you're doing. Come to
yeah,
me, tell me why it is you want to do what you want to do. Tell me why it is this happened and advocate for yourself instead of just saying, well, Bobby didn't do this, so I did that,
yeah,
or whatever. So,
yeah,
and that I loved it when I learned that concept, and watching her develop that skill was like unbelievable. I'm very proud to say she's 25, almost 26 now. And she started college a couple of years ago, which was a big thing for her to do.
yeah,
And now she's dorming, which was unbelievable because one of the things we were always afraid of, how is she going to do independent living?
right,
All
right.
right. So thank God she's learning those skills.
Yeah. I think the last time we talked, she was doing kind of like half. Was she doing
Yeah.
like she
She was
wasn't
in
staying?
school, but she was living by her mom.
Okay, so now she completely lives in the dorm?
She lives in the dorm.
Wow,
Yeah.
nice.
Very, very proud of her.
Okay.
Very proud of her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah. Absolutely. And
Okay.
once in a while, she'll call me. She called me today. She goes, I took my meds, but I think one dropped that I might have taken double the Ritalin. I'm like, okay, if you don't think you took it, take one. If you think you took it double, then don't take one. She goes, and also, by the way, I got this weird text from somebody that said hi with a heart. I'm like, no, that's spam.
Yeah.
Is it just delete and report?
Uh-huh.
On the iPhone, you could say delete and report. She
Yep.
goes, no, but it looked like it could be somebody I know. I go, I know, but I'm telling you, I got one yesterday. I just said hi. That's
Mm-hmm.
their way. They're saying, "Oh, maybe I forgot this person and I lost their number." Well, no,
Mm-hmm.
it's a spam. It's like, okay, Dad, but her to give me the call was, a big step
Yeah.
for me, for her to move forward in that. So yeah, so that's
Yeah.
what we're talking about. It's about learning and growing and unlocking and unleashing. I like that for bringing you back to where we were.
We're
I want to show you
also,
something a friend of mine sent me recently.
oh, that's so cute.
So my grandchildren were here the other day, and my 8-year-old, 9-year-old grandson comes up to me and goes, Papa, why do you have a ghost with doing bad fingers? Because the ghost is giving the bird. I'm like, a friend of mine gave it to me because they sent it to me because I helped them get through stuff that they were going through at that time, like friends, clients, and they just wanted me to know that when stuff is bad, just say screw everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was very cute that they got that. I was looking. I wanted to see if I could find that book I was telling you about. What happened to it? Okay, I can't find it, but it's really an unbelievable book called The Choice by Edith Eger. I
Okay.
recommend it to everybody. The Choice.
I'm gonna try to find the links for both books that you recommended and put them maybe like if they're on Amazon or something. I
All right,
mean,
cool. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Um, Also, for those of you who don't know, both of us have ADHD. So if you ever see us trailing off,
If you see me looking away, that's the ADHD. But I hear everything.
oh gosh. All right. So
Yeah,
let's go
yeah.
to the next card is
Oh, we're
navigate.
moving on. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, cool. All
By
right,
the
read
way.
that. Read that end.
uh navigate how your emotional roller coaster is holding you back. Boy, oh boy. A huge part of moving forward is learning how to control your own emotions. Moving forward starts by understanding and accepting that you can't change things or people. You cannot change things or people. You can only change yourself. Understanding this is important. I can attest to this. It's been a big part of my journey, self-accountability and realizing I
Yep.
cannot change other people. I can influence other people, but I can't change them. It's very common in many kinds of relationships, particularly marriages, that people come into the relationship believing they'll get their partner to change over time the things they don't like about them. Nothing can be farther from the truth. Um, if there are things you don't like about a person you may be in a relationship with, don't expect that you can change the person. You're better off stopping that relationship. You know,
Yeah. It's a kind of crazy, in your
yeah,
face answer, but that's the truth.
my current husband and I, we dated ish in high school, right? We knew each other in high school. We dated throughout, like super off and on here and there through our 20s. Um, the person he was and the person I was did not belong together because we were both healing, we were both going through things. If I had married him in high school, we wouldn't be together today. The only reason that we are together now is because we worked through so much individually and even together, we have really, really good communication now. And even like one of my oldest daughters pointed that out not so long ago. You and Quentin are really good at communicating. That was not always the case. In fact, when we first moved in together, we yelled a lot. Not really so much like in front of the kids, but we argued a lot, should I say, over silly little things. It was me and my five children and him and his mom, and we all combined one household, a five-bedroom house, mind you.
Wow.
So, yeah, um, it was a big adjustment, for all of us. And his mom was sick, and it was a lot. So even then, there were times where we were kind of like, I don't know if we're going to get married. This is just stressful. It's a lot of changes. But like I said, the people that we were when we first met each other, we were high schoolers.
Right.
I would never tell my kids in high school to get married to their high school sweetheart. In fact, I've told them just the opposite. Whoever you date in high school, you should not marry unless you have taken time, you've grown up separately. And that doesn't mean that you like have to hate each other, you have to fall out, whatever, whatever.
Right.
But
Right. Right.
I just, you're not going to marry your high school sweetheart unless you have separately grown, you know?
Right.
Um,
Right. 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 Yeah. So the point of what you're saying here is that you both went on your own and
yeah,
changed yourselves. You didn't
right,
change each other, because we have to
right,
get back to that part. It's not like we worked on this and he was like this, so I got him to do this. No,
right, right.
because if that's what happens, it's not lasting, and the person is changing for you, not for them.
Right, exactly, exactly. And the change is probably going to be temporary because they're not doing it for themselves.
Right, exactly. So I just wanted to clarify that for everybody out there. What you're talking about
Yeah,
is you both went and worked on yourselves,
yeah,
right? To the point that you recognized, okay, we've gotten rid of the things that weren't working for us, each one of us
right,
specifically, to the point now that we go, okay, you got married, after you got through all this and figured it out and have figured out how to move forward. And now it's all hunky. I mean, is it perfect? No, but it's definitely great, I would think,
Yeah,
knowing you.
yeah. Yeah.
One day I'll get to meet him.
I know, right? He knows of you. He's
Uh,
fond of you through me.
all right.
But yeah, he's an amazing person. I absolutely adore him. But like I said, had I married him in high school, probably wouldn't feel the same way. Just,
Yeah.
people
Yeah. Yeah.
change. And it's
There's
not to say
always
that you
change.
can't be friends with the person you date through high school and then when you're adults, you have a solid relationship. That's absolutely possible.
Yeah.
It's just, um,
You speak from experience and you're giving that experience to your children.
yeah,
Is it perfect experience? No, but
right,
it's
right.
enough that they go, okay, let me hear her, let me understand it and learn from her experience, her life, her things. And if
Yeah,
at the end of the day, they still have to make their own decisions. And if they do, at least they understand they're doing it with their eyes open.
right, right. Yeah. It's one thing I think I'm more open. Maybe it's an age thing. Maybe it's because I started having kids younger, but I feel like I'm a lot more open with my kids than a lot of women are.
I'm sure. I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are. Yeah, there's no question about it. And that, look, it is what it is. It's not
Yeah,
good, bad, or dead. It is what it is.
yeah, yeah,
That's sometimes that's something people look at it and you go, that's a cop out to say it is what it is. No, it's not. It's accepting reality as it is and
yeah.
saying, what am I going to do from here? But it is what it is.
Right,
You had your
right,
child at this age, right? It's not like you can go back and change that.
right, right. Yeah.
So yeah,
And so as for the navigate this moving forward starts by understanding, accepting you can't change things or people. That's another thing with this that's so profound to me because that's really one of the biggest issues with those of us who have been through some type of trauma, right?
yeah,
That emotional intensity we hold on to, it's because of the fact we couldn't control the situation. We couldn't
right,
control
right,
the person. We
100%.
couldn't control their choices. We couldn't control ourselves getting out of it, or, we couldn't control.
Right,
And
listen,
that is the thing we
yeah,
hold on to so
exactly.
dearly.
Now, you can't really see this picture very well because of the light, but this little boy over here in this corner,
Mhm.
right, that's my brother Michael. Okay, we lost him when he was 5 years old to
Yeah.
a tragic bus accident. That was a trauma in my life
Yeah.
that I can't change. I couldn't control. I wasn't on the bus with him. There was nothing I could have done about it. But you know
Yeah.
how long I was as a child? I took I blame myself for that happening
Yeah.
for different reasons, whatever. And it held me back for many, many years in
Yeah.
ways that I probably still don't even recognize the depth of it.
Yeah.
Okay. And the reason I'm saying that is because you talked about we can't change the past. We can't. Okay. And we can't change the people around us because if we're trying to change them, it's because there's something we don't like about them.
Right.
And
Right.
there are some people who say if you don't like it about them, it might be something about you don't like. Well, we're not going to go there. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, look, looking back, I was married for 25 years. Okay. And now that I became who I am now, looking back, I probably never should have married her in the first place. Our
Right.
values were never the same. I was always the people pleaser. And there were a lot of other things that I did wrong, that she did wrong, all these things. That doesn't mean I regret being married to her for 25 years.
Right. Right.
Right? Or the
Right.
fact that I have 4 beautiful children, 8 wonderful grandchildren, well, and all that. Especially I go crazy. My 2 3-year-old grandsons from each my 2 oldest children.
Hmm.
I just the girls, the older ones, they never were as close as I am with these 2 boys. They're like every week I get a FaceTime from one of them. Hi, Papa. They just want to and I go, okay, what do you want to do? Let's sing. Okay, what are we singing? 9 times out of 10, it's Baby Shark.
That doesn't surprise me.
Right. And one of them, when we get to Grandpa Shark, I change it to Papa Shark. He goes, how about Grandpa Shark?
Uh,
But the point of it is that I mean, it took many years for me to get over the divorce and all that. And I have a decent relationship with my ex-wife now.
Yeah.
Okay. But I can't regret the 25 years I had there. Okay.
Yeah.
I have to look at it and say what worked, what didn't work for
Yeah.
me. Right. And it's the same thing here. So what emotions, my biggest emotion was that I was a reactor and that I was a people pleaser. And I've come to recognize that they were intertwined.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of that came from the fact that I lost my brother at a young age. So for me, I was 10 and I said to myself, nobody said this to me. I
Hmm.
got to make sure that my parents never feel sadness like that again. So I put the burden of making sure that they're never sad on
Yeah.
my shoulders. I screwed up so many times with that too. Okay. But I did exactly what they wanted me to do many times
Yeah.
because of the fear of them having to think about the lost child.
Right. Right.
Okay. So, it's a
Yeah.
little deep here we're going, but yeah.
Um, okay, hold on. All right. So the last card for today is choose.
Yep. So
And
choose the values that are most important in your life. Values are principles people live by. They're also a product of the experiences you've had. Values are things that make you tick, and that drive you. Your family, your religion, your community all influence your values. You are driven by your values, yet those values may not reflect what you really want out of life. They may be the things you were taught.
mm,
There are often times when your heart and your head are not in alignment, meaning that what you want to do in your heart is not the same that your head thinks is right, or vice versa. This can create a disconnect in your life and in your relationships. So, the reason I put that in there is because that's when you have realized that your values are not in alignment with
yeah,
whatever's going on. Right. And we're talking about my ex wife just now. If I knew back when I was in my 20s what my values were and what her values were, I probably never would have married her in the first place. But
yeah,
that's only because going back now, I realized our values were never aligned. So we were in a codependent relationship because of our values. Now there are other reasons as well, but a big
yeah,
part of it had to do with that our values were not aligned. So as a result, I was approaching things in one way, she was approaching them in a different way. And as we would clash when our values would be the thing that would drive us. And me
right.
being the people pleaser that I was, I would allow the heart to overcome the head and give in because I was afraid of losing her love.
Yeah,
So,
that that's deep.
yeah, yeah. If you're
You
coming
know,
here for light stuff, go to another one.
right, right. There speaking on marriage, my first marriage, we both made mistakes. I hold a lot of responsibility on myself. My ex-husband doesn't hold any over me, and there are choices that I made. I was the one who chose it in the relationship. And, for me, I feel responsible for that. But he doesn't hate me for it. Like we're at a really good place now. We're friends. We have respectful boundaries, but he doesn't hate me. He comes to me for advice. He tells me about his life. And sometimes we just have to realize that, hey, I hold resentment for myself more than the person that I feel like I wronged even does. And it's okay to also forgive myself. I was young, I was inexperienced, I was uneducated, whatever the case may be around your situation.
Right, right, right.
Um, I was unhealed, you know, taking accountability, growing yourself, but you also have to learn to forgive yourself sometimes too.
Yeah, yeah. Back to forgiveness again. Yeah. So the whole thing about their values is until I started going to coach training, I never really understood what values are. And if you go into the book, you'll see there's a list of values.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's not just, oh, let me come up. And there's an exercise in here to help you figure out which values speak to you.
Yeah,
Okay. Here, it's on page 115 of the book.
I
Right.
can
Just to give you an
probably,
idea. Right. And the values are there the for you to figure out, right? What is it? Which one of these values aligns with me? And I don't have them all there. I have a nice amount, but there are
yeah.
others as well. And you could go online and find lists of them and
Mhm.
figure out which ones. And for me, a perfect example of how I used my values once I understood what they were was when I started dating again, right?
Yeah.
I would get set up on dates. Okay. That's the community I come from. And I went on, I also picked up women as well and went on dates in that way too, the old fashioned way, or even a couple of times I tried the apps that never really worked out. Not that I had bad ones. I never had a bad date. Okay.
Yeah.
But when I'd go on these dates, okay, I would talk with them and my conversations looking back now were interviews of understanding what their values were.
Hmm.
Okay. And it was in a way that it was conversational. It's not like I pulled out a sheet of paper. It's like, okay, so tell me about your values. But what it was me getting to understand, is there a foundation here that I could work with?
Right.
And
Hmm.
when I started dating Sarita, my current wife, she was checking off the boxes. I went out again. She's checking the boxes off. And I'm like, okay, there's something here.
Yeah.
And thankfully, 6 years later, or 8 years later, we started dating 8.5 years ago, and we got married 2 years later. We're still together. And
Yep.
is it perfect again? No, there's no such thing as perfection. There are
Right.
times I do stupid things, and she knows how to call me out on
Well, that's one thing. I have teenage daughters. I have a young adult son, a young adult daughter, and it's one thing that I kind of harp on to them. When you go to choose a partner that you're compatible with. Don't choose a man or a woman in my son's case, whatever. Don't choose a partner that you have to change to make what you want. There's other people, like just because you really like this guy or this girl or whatever doesn't mean they're the only person on the earth that you'll ever
right.
like.
Right, exactly. And I'm going to get a little raunchy here, but guys, don't think with the wrong head.
Right, right.
Meaning, don't fall in lust with somebody
Yes.
and
Yeah.
say, "Oh, this one's hot. This one's great in
Well,
bed."
but girls too,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
females
100%.
too.
Just it's
Don't,
easy to
you know
use
what?
that. It's a
Right.
little easier to use that line.
Oh gosh. All right.
Right, right.
Well, on that note,
We got to leave them laughing.
let everyone know where we can find you on social media and your website. And of course, I'll have all the links in the description for you guys to
Absolutely.
follow.
So you can go to connectwithmartin.com. That'll get you to most of the things that I got going on in my life. I do a workshop on this new project that I put together a year ago, helping coaches and consultants and entrepreneurs get to seven figures in 2 years or less guaranteed. You could
Hmm.
also find the book there. You could find the cards, the links to get that. And there's some free stuff out there as well. You can download some of this free stuff like a Cycle of A's worksheet. I think Stop, Think, and Respond is on there as well. So
Yeah.
some stuff that you can do. Yeah, so yeah, that's a great way to get me. And then I'm on social media, a bunch of Warriors Live Code, Martin Salama. If you want to have some fun, you can even go to YouTube and put my name in and watch some of my cooking shows.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
I
That is,
haven't done one in a
yeah.
while, but they're still up there. They're in there, the world.
A man of many talents.
There you go. Yep.
All right.
Anyway,
Well, thank
yeah,
you. Thank you for being here as always. And
my pleasure.
you guys stay tuned. There are more cards in the deck. We're not done
We're
yet.
about halfway through the deck, just a
Yeah,
little past halfway.
we still got a little bit to go. So
Yeah.
stick around and we'll see you next time.
That's
Bye. Check us out on YouTube at Rhea Higgs, ReahHagues. You can also keep up with us on Instagram at Just the Who Podcast.